Do you want to know how to discipline an autistic child for screaming? Well, you are not alone. That's a difficult behavior. I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, child development, and education all over the world through the lens of the principle self-government. I have actually parented autistic children, so I have some experience there, as well as working with children with other diversities. And in this video, we're going to focus on the screaming behavior. In this video, we're going to talk about 7 reasons why autistic children scream, because there's not just one reason. And then we're going to talk about what you can do about it. Autism is so unique to every single individual, and people's experiences being an autistic person are sometimes more stimulating than others, okay? So the number one reason that autistic people start screaming is because they get sensory overload. There's too many sounds, there's too many smells, there's too many things to see, too many bright lights. It's just too much. That scream is an attempt to try to get back to a regulated state, okay? So when you start to become dysregulated in your brain, and you start to go further and further away from your prefrontal cortex, so you're going back, and the amygdala is taking over, we start firing cortisol, that stress hormone. With that stresses, then comes the stimulants that are also in the brain as well. You start getting to a place where you feel like you are crashing, okay? In the brain, in that moment of chemical crash that you are experiencing, and the dopamine's hitting and all those kinds of things are going on all at the same time, you actually end up releasing sometimes that scream, or maybe for some people it's a deep breath, or some people it's a cry. That's the moment when you hit the peak of the crash, and then after that you're going to tell yourself it's okay because you went through that peak of the crash. So overstimulation just leads to brain function that can produce a scream. When you're talking about how do you handle that, how do we handle the overstimulation? Well, can we try to mitigate some of the stimulation? Maybe, yeah. But what we're probably going to have to do is use the self-government skill of accepting a no answer and teach the person that when we are feeling like there's a lot of stimulation that's happening, there's sensory overload that's going on, that's a no answer. So what is my plan for that? I'm going to go to my calm place in my own head. So I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to start taking deep breaths, which tells the brain that I'm okay, that everything's calm and everything's fine, that I don't need to worry about survival anymore, okay? I'm surviving, I'm fine. Yeah, and I start counting the deep breaths in my head and start telling myself the truth that I need, okay? You might start pointing the person toward their calm plan. Hopefully you've pre-planned that ahead of time. The second reason that autistic people scream is because of communication frustration. Sometimes they just can't get the right words. It's very hard. Now, there's different levels of verbal ability in autistic people. Some people are completely verbally capable. Some people are not, and they struggle to find the right words. They have to pause and think about the right words, and it takes patience for them to even come up with the words that they need. And this is very difficult for them. And so the frustration can be a real thing. And so sometimes when they can't get the word, they just explode and get to that screaming stage. So again, when you can't find the right word, when you have to be patient with yourself to find the right word, then basically you have to accept a no answer until you get to that right word. And accepting a no answer is one of those 4 basic skills of self-government that is going to be vital for anyone. It's just an adult skill, but especially for an autistic person. The third reason that autistic people might be screaming is because just emotionally they're overwhelmed. So can you see a theme here? Overwhelm, it's a big one. Sensory overload, communication overload, so now emotional overload. They're handling too much emotion. Too many people are sharing emotions with them or venting at them. Maybe they're feeling personally attacked in some way, and emotionally they're having a hard time processing it, because finding the truth in the emotion is very difficult, and an autistic person is constantly looking for that bit of truth that they can hold on to. They like that with their rigid tendencies. If they can't find it, they get frustrated and they might yell. So what do? If they're emotionally overloaded and they are now starting to scream at you, well, that's not keeping a calm face, voice, and body. I would teach my child the self-government skill of accepting a no answer, just like we talked about before, because sometimes if people are sharing their emotions with you or they're giving you some sort of feedback, it may feel like a no answer or some criticism, which is the same skill, accepting criticism. So you're going to go through that process and you're going to hopefully drop the subject. But if you feel like you need to discuss something with the person or even explain that you're feeling like this is getting a little bit too emotional, then I would use another skill, another self-government skill called disagreeing appropriately. It's going to be very, very helpful. Obviously, in any of these states of emotional outburst, which is what a scream is, we're probably going to want to seek to understand and then maybe even get to doing a correction. The fourth reason that your autistic child may choose to scream is because they may have a need to control themselves or their surroundings. They may need predictability. Now, this channel is the Teaching Self-Government channel, and if you've subscribed to it, that you know that I teach these skills that are very, very predictable. And people who help autistic friends try to learn skill development and progress in life absolutely love teaching self-government for how predictable it is. It's something to hold on to. It just makes sense to the autistic person. When you have a system that you stick to and you are consistent, even if the autistic person needs to be corrected sometimes, that's okay, because that helps them feel a little bit more in control. But when your parenting is changing all the time and it's not predictable, they're going to get frustrated, because some autistic people really can't function well unless they have an element of control over themselves. So actually, do they love self-government training? Yeah, they do, actually. It can be hard sometimes, especially when they're used to having outbursts. But once they recognize the power of it, they're often better at it than just neurotypical people. It's true. Number 5, an autistic child might start to scream because they're needing sensory input. So if sensory stimulation is a thing for them, then they may start feeling this craving for a sensory experience. They want more sensory experiences coming at them. So then they start screaming. That brings you in saying, whoa, stop, or what's going on? Or bringing in this element of excitement or drama because they scream. It can just feel that way. And then, of course, it can get attention too. That's a tricky one because they need to learn how to seek attention properly. Basically, what they're doing is seeking attention. They're doing it in a way that's not proper. It might be satisfying in some way, like a satisfying sound or experience, but they need to learn how to come to you and how to have a conversation where they can seek attention from you in a more direct way. It's going to be much more beneficial for them in the long term. They're going to need that in all of their relationships, actually. Number 6, autistic people sometimes scream because they are in pain or they're having some sort of sensory discomfort. Maybe there's a certain food that they're being told that they need to eat because it's healthy, and it just, in their mouth, seems like, eating nails or cardboard or something, and it's just so hard. And they're over focusing on the fact that this food is too pointy. I can't swallow pointy food, and they're over processing. If they are feeling a sense of pain or maybe some sort of discomfort, what you need to help them do is learn how to go through a process where they self-regulate their own thoughts, which means they're going to need to identify the thoughts that they're having at those times, and then you're going to create a plan for what to do in those moments when they have to eat something that doesn't feel comfortable to eat in their mouths, because you can't just teach them they get to control everything. They don't. That will be a recipe for failure for their whole life. They have to learn how to adapt, and you've got to teach them how to challenge some of those thoughts that get them stuck. Number 7, they could be seeking attention, or they could be screaming just because it's a learned behavior. What if someone has given them the example of screaming, and so that's why they're screaming? What if someone is frustrated at them, and that's their go-to mode of handling the problem? Well, then they're going to learn it, just like any child would learn it. So this isn't unique to an autistic person. Anyone could seek attention by screaming. Anyone could scream because they feel like that's how they are supposed to handle their problem, just because they haven't learned the skills that they need. So what skills do they need? They need to learn how to communicate their fears and frustrations. They need to learn skills like how to disagree appropriately. They need to know how to initiate a productive conversation with their parents. If they've learned how to have mentor meetings, how to have parent counseling sessions, how to even accept pre-teaching and correction from their parents, then if they've learned how to initiate those types of meetings, they can solve their problems without having to go to attention seeking or trying to control the situation around them with that screaming. The teaching self-government system is so perfect for autistic children. It's so predictable. It gives them the skills to hold on to, and you know what? It gives the parents the skills and the scripts that they need to hold on to too, to keep their parenting predictable as well. It's empowering if you understand the skills for how to solve your problems, and you don't have to go to screaming anymore. That's what this is all about. If you want to learn about more about teaching self-government, some of the trainings, the TSG parenting course is amazing. There's a 3-day parenting mastery training where you can learn all of the skills in 3 days. You can even have some of your children join with you. There's also books and other resources. You can find out about all of these things at teachingselfgovernment.com. I'll see you there.